All right, guys. Well, for those of you tuning in right now or tuning in later, I really appreciate you guys for watching this interview. It's definitely going to be a pretty knowledgeable one, I'd have to say. I don't know if you guys like what I've been doing recently with the whole more conversational stuff. Hopefully you do. But before we get this thing underway, is there anything you want to plug or anybody want to shout out, anything like that?
No, man, shout out to you. We're ready to get this going. First podcast I've been on here, so hopefully can send your followers, your way and get you going here.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty crazy how that's your first podcast or interview or whatever, because you're such like a big name with basketball and yeah, I guess it's basketball, high school basketball, like the basketball community in general. Like everyone pretty much knows Courtside Films and all that. And I guess can we talk about that? I guess what we'll start off with is how do you advertise yourself a lot? Like, do people know you are Courtside Films, or how do you handle that, or you pretty much live two separate lives? Like, there's Courtside Films, and you're this completely different guy, and nobody even knows you're the man behind all this.
I mean, it's Courtside Films, we're the guys behind the camera, so that's why I've never been on any podcast or anything like that. People do know Courtside Films, but they don't necessarily know me. And it's also two other guys I do it with, Johnny Hines and Daryl Coleman. So, those guys, they don't get a ton of recognition either. It's mainly just people know Courtside Films and they don't necessarily know us personally. It's kind of how it works.
And there's a lot of videographers and people in the media industry where they carry themselves in a way where you know the brand, but you do know who's behind the brand. Like there's overtime, but then it's overtime. Tom, the guy, he's the guy behind it, or even with Slam, Brian La Russa or whatever his last name is. Like at least I know who he is, and he has a pretty good following. Like, why have you chosen to carry yourself almost separate from the brand you represent?
I would say, it gets to be a lot. It's a lot of being on the phone, operating apps and all that. And, we have multiple Instagram accounts. So you end up putting your own personal one in there. That's just more accounts you're managing. And you kind of want to put all your focus into, growing the brand and, getting bigger with you guys. And, when we started, there was no Instagram either, too. So it's kind of just always been building the Courtside Films brand for us.
Yeah, but it's more like I don't have a personal Instagram account, but I guess because I'm talking to the players, they're obviously going to know who I am. But when you go to these events, like, do you just kind of go film and leave, or do you try to interact with a lot of people? What do you do when you go to games or tournaments?
A lot of it kind of depends because we put on a lot of camps ourselves. So if it's a event that we're running, I'm talking to the players a ton, getting to know them and all that stuff. And if it's just me showing up to a high school game, a lot of times you don't really end up interacting with the players, especially with the COVID stuff going on. And going to AAU tournaments, a lot of times we'll end up interacting with a lot of players there. So I obviously know tons of players. It's just not doing a ton of broadcasting my own name out there.
And obviously, like I found this crazy too because I was searching up. I just did a quick Google search on Courtside Films to see I got like a cooler logo in the back, and then I see like T Jazz at one of your camps. Like, you guys have obviously been around for a while, but you do look pretty young though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was surprised to see all that stuff. Unless I'm, I guess, thinking T Jazz is older or something like that. But this is a pretty basic question, but it's different for everybody. So, can you describe like how you guys started and formed?
Yeah. No, T-Jazz came out to a couple courtside camps. I think he's like 21, and so I'm 27 now. So the way that we got going was my brother, who's 2 years older than me, he was a football player. He played all sports, but football was his best sport. He was on a full ride scholarship, and he got Lyme disease. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but he got Lyme disease, and he had to get a PICC line put in his arm, and he ended up leaving school. And basically, at the time, we're all from Iowa.
Oh shoot, looks like you just glitched, guys. Um, Wait for him to get right back. I'm just gonna remove myself from the stream, and then we'll whenever he comes back, we'll get right back into it. All right, sorry about that, guys. He's back. He's back right now.
I'm back. Okay. I don't know if that was on my end or what that was there, but
I didn't, or I don't think I did anything. I don't think it was me, but
might
yeah.
have been some internet on my end. But anyway, like I was saying, we're all from Iowa. Johnny was playing football full ride. He was one of the best linebackers in the state, and he had to get that PICC line put in his arm, which is basically like an IV that he had to have for months at a time. Left school, couldn't play football, and he started filming some top up and coming recruits in Iowa. And at the time, there was some big names in Iowa. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Harrison Barnes or Marcus Page. Those guys were coming out of Iowa at the time, and he formed a company called Iowa Elites. And I just thought it was really cool what he was doing. Saw that you could make money from YouTube, and I was like, yo, this is awesome. So I end up not going to college. I start with him as soon as I graduate. Same with one of my best buddies, Daryl Coleman. He got going with us right away. And we kind of just saw, the passion my brother had for it and, the desire to, make it happen. And we're like, this is a cool job. We didn't really know what we wanted to do. We're huge sports junkies, grew up playing football, basketball, baseball. And so basically just hit the ground running and started going to all the top events, filming like crazy. And back then there was a lot less people doing it. So I think that kind of helped us create a lane and get more notoriety. And, ever since then, we've been going. That was back in about like 2012, 2013.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Like thinking about how long, like let's see, 2012. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Like, I'm looking. I have a poster right in front of me when he won the NBA championship from which he was like ages ago, 2012. Like I was probably fourth, third grade at the time. Like thinking that you guys were going and all that. But would you say that was like the big advantage? How maybe the media wasn't as big back then in terms of like there weren't these media pages or even these guys' personal pages that are blown up because through the media like back then was it not really we like that? Was that a big advantage for you guys?
I think it was. There was a lot fewer guys, it's kind of like the Ball is Life hoop mixtape, like City League hoops, and there wasn't a ton else out there. And, also we kind of found our own lane where we really started putting up a ton of videos. If we went to an event, we're putting up, the number one player, we're putting up the sleepers, we're trying to sell highlight tapes to everybody. We kind of just tried everything, in the high school basketball scene where whether it's making our own events, we had an NCAA scouting service, we were doing rankings and YouTube videos. So we kind of just got out there and started grinding is really what we did.
And what you're doing, like, it sounds kind of similar to what I've been trying to do is like dipping my toes into many different types of content. Cause, I'm just trying to see like what's, going to get my brand the most exposure. Like at the end of the day, I think I'm going to keep doing the interviews as that's always gonna be number one. It's more like what's going to be the second thing that's going to kind of give the page a little bit of a boost. Like I think maybe filming the clips, even though I'm not some videographer, like I've been posting a lot of scouting stuff on my Twitter about guys like in my area. So could you describe like what it was like going through that creative process is keep picking and trying different new things? And did it ever get tiring? Like you maybe like this thing more, but you're like, this thing somehow sucks for views wise or exposure. Like, can you describe that whole creative process of picking different types of content and trial and error?
Yeah, it can definitely be discouraging, trying to find your lane. Once we got going, I was like, I'm going to be a scout. Like we got NCAA certified. We thought we had this great idea, kind of selling scouting reports that were attached to full game footage for the coaches. And from there, I was just dead set, like, oh, I'm going to be a basketball scout. This is going to be awesome. And then we realized there were different, lanes we could make more money and, also help the kids out. So through the trial and error, it's kind of just about staying resilient, figuring out what works for you, how you can be profitable and, still do something you love. So I would say, for you, just definitely being resilient and, not quitting no matter what the obstacles are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And going back to the scouting, like again, I mentioned that's something I'm trying to do a little bit. Like all respect to scouts, and I don't think I'm a great scout, or I probably was myself a bad scout, but unless I'm doing it wrong, I feel like there's some sort of formula in a way to scouting, like in terms of if I'm watching a player and I see him hit, tons of threes, tons of long range shots. I'm going to say, oh, he's a shooter, great form. Like, look at a little bit, see what exactly is good about him, and kind of go my way with that player. If it's a guy, getting a lot of blocks and like saying, hey, maybe he's good arm length or something like that. Would you say there's at all a formula to scouting, or how do you become a good scout?
I would say, having a good feel for the game and knowledge of the game. I always found a lot in seeing them in both the high school and the AAU setting. You can see much different stuff. Some player might be kind of bogged down by their high school coach, wanting to have them run a certain offense or something like that. And then you see their AAU coach will let them play a more freestyle, and that's where they really made their name and picked up all their offers. So seeing the players in different settings, and then I would say getting more point of views as well. If you can get in contact with their trainer or an AAU coach, or maybe it's another scout, and just kind of pick their brain on, people who have done it before, and just get a better idea of what you're looking for, see what they see, and kind of combine it with what you see.
Yeah, because it does sound like I'm wondering in terms of when you make a scouting report, are you doing more than just what you see on the court? Because at least for college coaches, like when they're going to these events, that's what I heard. Like they know basketball, like they can easily become a scout if they wanted to. They obviously understand the game. Like they want to learn more with a guy off the court. They're recruiting a person, not a player. So when you were doing scouting reports, was that something that you really had to dive in on? Was the way they are with their personality and how they handle themselves off the court, or did you just kind of mainly do just how they played?
For us, we kind of mainly did how they play, just to not put a kid in a negative light, and that's part of probably why we ended up going a different route, is because, we want to see all the kids get offers and, do as much as they can. But I think a lot of these coaches are looking at, the body language, how they interact with their teammates, and if they're right. Because as you see with all these different college teams, they all have such a different culture and the way they play. Some people are looking for one and done. Some people need 4-year guys exclusively, or they know they're going to run a 2-3 zone. So they always need, some lengthy defenders. So I think there's a lot of factors, but that's definitely, those college coaches are looking at more than just stats. That's for sure.
Yeah. And talking about the brand a little bit, I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but like what would you say is the mission of Courtside Films? Like, is it just trying to get as many players as possible exposure? Like, is it trying to put out this crazy good content? What's the mission of the whole brand?
I wouldn't say we necessarily have like a direct mission, but overall just kind of grow the brand with my guys. It's always good to, succeed with your brother and best friend, and for that to work out has always been a huge thing. And for us to be working in harmony and also, helping these kids out is definitely a big thing. But I think in the future, we're looking to, add more courtside camps, as well as get into more of the girls basketball side of things for sure.
Yeah, and with the beginning of you guys, now I forgot to ask this like early in the interview, but were there any challenges in terms of maybe gaining respect from some of the bigger companies or some of the bigger names in basketball when you guys were just starting off?
Definitely. And our brand name was Iowa Elites too. And then we started traveling out of the state, and we're covering these top players, and we had the Iowa Elites logo on, maybe some player from California or something like that. And we're like, well, people know Iowa Elites. Can we really change the brand name after doing it for a couple of years? And that was definitely a big struggle. And, eventually we had to switch it over to something a little more national. And, but yeah, there's definitely earning your respect thing. I think we got a lot of that respect from really driving to all the big events. After a while, everybody saw us at all the top events. We were willing to, make 20-hour road trips, all three of us in the car and in one hotel room. So I think, you know, that type of respect is just earned over time.
Yeah, and I just want to ask, like, just the way you guys at least worked in the beginning of your events. I'm gonna give a shout out to my guys, Greenlight Media. Honestly, I don't know if you know who they are, but the way I guess I feel like they're on a similar path to you guys. Like, they're growing a ton. I think they've helped run a few events. They've been doing a lot of great work. It's like this one guy's kind of the main guy, and then he has like either two or three of his friends all help him out. And I saw him, they were at Hoops Giving, and I see them like during the game. They have this whole system. Like, this one guy's on this camera on the other side of the court, and the one guy's on his phone, and then somehow they get the clips sent so fast, and they put the logo in it, and get like they have some whole fast system where they're getting everything up, as soon as possible. Like, working, like it was crazy seeing just the way they work together. Like, can you talk about how you guys were operating at the events? Like, was it kind of how they did it, where they had one guy with the camera on this side of the court, and this other guy filming with the phone, one guy on the computer editing stuff? What was your system?
I would say it can kind of vary, you know, depending on which event. But I mean, one of the things we kind of made our name off of was, are you familiar with the MBPA Top 100 camp they do in Virginia? That
Okay, yeah.
that's a really big camp they do every year at the University of Virginia. And we would drive from Iowa out there, which is over 1,000 miles to get out there. And it's 3 courts. You got the top 100 players, and we would, you know, each of us would be on one court, film everything. And our goal was kind of to just make a highlight tape on every player at the top 100 camp. And I think that, you know, got us a lot of love there, helped us grow, and just kind of got our system down where, you know we got to be fast editors, we got to get a lot of content up, and, you know, just keep moving forward. So I wouldn't say there's an exact system for our camps. There's probably more of a system in play, but just for, you know, covering general events, it's probably less of a system and more just habits we've developed over the years.
Yeah, and this question's kind of deep, but like when you guys did just start, you said how a big advantage was where you were willing to make those 20-hour road trips, those long drives together to see all these guys. And for me, like, I'm a very humble guy. Like, I don't live in I live in a normal house, but still I think I have an extremely nice lifestyle, and I'm very blessed for it. And I guess you say when I'm not a mission, but I almost want to succeed, but not because I paid my way. Like that's why, like, I don't want to go to Hoops Giving and pay for the tickets and not worry about media, because then it's like I just kind of bought my way in there. Like, I want to get it because I worked hard, but obviously, like, I could drive to some farther events, but I always feel like somewhat like mad at myself. Like, you didn't really work for this in a way. Like, how I guess what would be your opinion on that? Like Montverde is like 3 hours away, and luckily my dad loves basketball and I love basketball too, so we'll go to it. But at the end of the day, like, I guess I have a lot of things falling in place for me where I'm very lucky. So I'm like somewhat, I guess, upset with myself how I couldn't just earn it because of the stuff I've done in the past. Like, I kind of had to have that little extra factor. Like, what would be your opinion on that?
I mean, I wouldn't sell yourself short. I think you are earning it. You know, if you're down to drive up to, you know, Atlanta, and you're down to go 3 hours each way to, you know, Montverde and cover all those games, and even the fact that, you know, you're willing to spend your afternoon on an interview, you know, with me to try to grow your company and your brand is, you know, I wouldn't feel like it's anything you didn't earn, you know. So if you're feeling that way, you know, I think you got to just, you know, look back at some of that good content you've already put out, and, you know, make plans for the, you know, the future content you're going to get out and the ways you're going to grow your brand. So I wouldn't feel like, you know, you didn't earn it. You know, you're putting in the work.
Yeah, because I guess maybe the way I compare myself to is like, I'm sure if my dad was like, if we won the lottery and I was like, can we spend all of our $1 million on the world's best camera that no one has? Like, get that camera. I can make a terrible mixtape, like, editing wise, because that camera is so good. That kind of is like, just because I bought it, that would pretty much blow me up. So that's kind of why, like, I don't know. I feel like that's like unfair in a way, you know. Like, I guess that's how life works.
You got to earn it. You got to earn it. You can't buy it. You got to put the work in. And if you bought your whole way and then you did become successful, you wouldn't feel satisfied in the end, I don't think. So, you know, it's always going to be a thing where you got to put the work in, and then you get the satisfaction after.
Yeah, definitely. That's all. Like it is like the best feeling. When I just started. So I'd be up till this over the summer, so it wasn't a big deal. But I'd be up till 3 in the morning finding players and DMing them. And then I'd go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and like if I saw like one of them responded, like that's like the best. Like that just felt so good. Staying up that late. Like I'm exhausted, and then seeing like this one guy like responded to me, and I would never expect a response from a guy like him before. Like that was probably some of the better the better moments, honestly.
Definitely, those little things that'll get you the adrenaline to keep going. So you definitely want to hold on to those and use them as motivation.
Yeah. I'm wondering, was that top 100 camp? Was that like Courtside Films' big break, or when was that big break?
I wouldn't say that there was ever necessarily like a big break, and definitely still don't even feel like we made it yet, and that
Yeah.
we have some big break yet. It's still a long way to go, but I think that's when people started seeing us more on a national scale, and that was back when we were still Iowa elites, and that kind of led us to getting hired for events across the country, and led to us needing to change our name. But the top 100 camp definitely was. And a good part about that is kind of like how I said, we were out there looking to make a video on all the players there. And so, some of those sleepers, as you see in the NBA today and high level college basketball, those are the guys who really pan out. Maybe you were ranked 80th in the country, but you still made it to that camp. No one else made you a video, but Courtside did. That's obviously going to lead to views and, good content you could post down the road. So I would say, yeah, the top 100 camp definitely gave us a good chance to get our name out there.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy how people like, in my opinion, like any player you rank top 100, even top 300, like that's a crazy good person to interview. Like I just can't imagine people going to those camps and just filming number one, and then number 80 getting like number 80 is a crazy good player. Like and even
Yeah,
the guys ranked top five, like 4 out of the 5 might not even make it to the NBA. So it's like it's all like I would say the stars could matter and the offers matter, but the rankings themselves like don't really matter in terms of number one to number like 10 or whatever. Like they're all crazy good players, and I can't imagine people going to that camp and just filming like 5 guys. Like that seems like such a complete waste of time.
it was such a different era back then too. And, you think there's only a handful of companies that are even, attending the camp in the first place. And then, it was just different back then. Every event, so much less videos coming out of it. Like the amount of high school media coverage in 2021 compared to like 2012 is like more than 100 times more. Like it's to the point where it's getting a little oversaturated. But back then, there was very low content coming from those big high school basketball events.
Can you like describe, because you've been in the industry obviously for a very long time, like what was that change like from where high school basketball was nowhere near as big of a market as it is now, where some high school basketball like Slam High School's over 1 million followers, like these high school players are now considered celebrities. Like could you explain that change of era that you went through?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it too is, the social media era, just everything getting bigger. Back then there was no Instagram, no Snapchat, and so a lot of the players were more just, on Twitter, just throwing
Yeah.
up some tweets every now and then. It wasn't constant story post and all this stuff, but I think it's good the way it's grown. It's just more exposure for the players, more kids that are going to get offers. And as long as people take it the right way, they don't let it get to their head. Like, I got a ball is life video. Now I can, be complacent and stop working so hard. So it's good and bad, but for the most part, I think it's good the way it's grown so much over the years.
Yeah, it's crazy too because I guess technically you lived a similar way I did. Like I mean the Instagram page I have, like that's my only page, or I made a backup one just in case. So now I'll start off with, if my page gets like hacked and shut down, I start off with 30 followers instead of 0, which is, I mean, it's not a big deal, but at least it's nice to kind of have that thing going. But other than that, like when Instagram came out, I was in 3rd grade. I was not allowed to get it. I didn't have any social media till 8th grade. My mom let me get a Twitter, where my identity was hidden. I was IF Sports Network on Twitter for a little bit. So that was like my first social media. And then I got like Snapchat going into high school. Like I guess you could say I didn't develop with social media. Like I mean I can't even imagine. I think I'd be the same person, but I mean you really don't know. Like if I got Instagram when all my friends got in third grade, like who I would be. But that's definitely pretty crazy just to see that. But are there gonna be any guys like have you ever been shocked? Like you said, you're filming this guy, like, or your example was top 100 camp, like number 80, was probably very blessed to get some content from you guys since no one really made him anything at that camp. But now, like number 80 could be thinking he's a lot more big time than number 80 and walking around like he's Michael Jordan or something like that. Have you kind of been surprised how some of these guys that aren't that good at basketball or acting in ways that they really shouldn't?
I mean, not really. That's just kind of how people are. We meet a lot of characters, and sometimes that's just kids' personalities and just them growing up. And you get some kid who might be a little cocky, and then you get another kid, who's got just great stand-up character. I think that's just part of growing up. Becoming more mature and learning to develop and work hard at your game. And you see, in the end, when everything plays out, it's those guys who had the great work ethic mixed with the talent, but stayed hungry. Those are the guys who are going to pan out, So I think it's like I said, there's some good and some bad with the new social media era, but, most of it's good, I think.
Yeah, and speaking to the panning out of players and kind of who makes it, like has there ever been a player where maybe nobody else really knew about that you guys kind of caught an eye of first and followed up and now he's in the pros today or is something really successful that not a lot of people expected?
That's a good question. I would say Fred Van Vliet. Are you familiar with him for the Raptors?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he's from Rockford, Illinois. So we could drive to him, but it wasn't that close. And he had no media coverage at all. He was an unranked player. And mainly my brother, Johnny, he was just saying, like, this point guard, he's nice. Like, we got to go check him out. And I remember I was driving out there and, him going off and us posting the highlights. And then, he just went to Wichita State. I think he stayed there all 4 years. And, obviously he's panned out really well, NBA champion. So, yeah, I would say Fred is probably one who really blew up.
And was that at all like, I don't know how big your page was at the time, but was that at all successful or helped you guys a lot? Because I feel like that's also key to some people too. Like you got to find that one player where they're gonna be something big, and if you get that guy first, like I mean, the connection you make with them or just the ability to grow together is obviously like a pretty big opportunity if you find this guy who's a nobody and then all of a sudden like you're filming him, supporting him, he start picking up offers, like both the guys are growing at the same time, like that's probably like the biggest possible, besides maybe going viral off something crazy, like that's like a big formula to have, like two people blowing up at the same time. Was that something really big to Courtside Films where you guys found this guy before anybody and kind of blew him up?
Yeah, definitely. Because they may not be a huge national name, but if you're that good, you always have your hometown and likely your home state supporting you. So people see that you're putting out content consistently on this player. They're probably going to follow you and be looking for that type of content. Brother also kind of did that with Tyus Jones his sophomore year of high school, and there wasn't really a ton of media in the Minneapolis area, so he would drive up there and he would just put up huge numbers in high school. And so I think a lot of not only just the Minneapolis area, but then him committing to Duke, and you end up getting to colleges, checking out all your stuff. So I think finding the right players, is definitely a way to build your brand for sure.
And I guess the thing for me, like I'm not like I would say like I'm a decent or halfway decent basketball player. Like I'm not bad, but I've never grown up, surrounded by athletes or these high profile basketball players that are pretty good now. Like I'm just a normal kid. Like I I'm just like starting to see like these are legit basketball players with potential. But I'm sure being in Iowa, like at least now, like it's not that big of a basketball market, I guess we could say. Like, so for a player that I may think is crazy good, like I'd be in middle school, like playing like a beginning pickup with these guys, and I thought this guy was gonna go to the NBA. Like that, I was just playing like pickup basketball with because I'm just not used to seeing this type of talent. Could you explain how you were able to know like this guy is legit? Because for me, like I guess you could say I'm an easy person to impress nowadays, just because I really haven't seen so much. How are you guys able to have the right eyes for that?
I would say that kind of, developed over time because, yeah, like you said, Iowa is not known for being the biggest basketball state out there. So for us, growing up, we were, huge into basketball, played a ton. We were kind of the top players in the area, which, didn't lead to scholarships and all that for basketball. But we had no idea. Like, if I was growing up down here in Florida, I would be, coming off the bench or something like that instead of having the ball in my hands all the time. So it's definitely a whole nother world of basketball. And just right when we got out there, one of the first tournaments we went to, it was a camp in Philadelphia. It was the Reebok Breakout Classic, which used to be a huge camp where they got all the future pros would go to that, and they'd have the underclassmen too. And I just remember thinking how crazy it is. Like, these kids are 14, 15 doing windmill dunks, and just they look like grown men too. So it opened my eyes to a whole new world of basketball. And then getting the eye for pegging the next talent. I think that kind of just comes with time. And you see how important like certain things like shooting are. Like, if it's a guy who's just bouncy, you got to be like, oh, like, how's his jump shot, how's his defense, and kind of just starting to look at all around games. And that's one thing that definitely translates. If you're a knockdown shooter and you got the defense, like, there's going to be coaches after you for sure. So I would say overall, getting that eye is just over time you'll develop it more.
You definitely, and this I guess you can say this is a pretty easy question. Like I'm sure your page gets flooded with DMs daily of people hitting you up like free film, free this, or like they all want advice. I mean, even myself too. Like I get those DMs, which I find crazy that people think I'm some like genius or something like that where I know what to do. Like I guess maybe what's your response when a guy hits you up? Because I know for a fact this happened where it's like, how do I get recruited or how do I gain offers? What do you say to that kid?
Yeah, it's tough because we're dealing with a lot of people, and some of the messages we get are just ridiculous. It'll be like, yo, I'm playing in Jersey at 3 p.m. today. You got to pull up or something
Yeah.
like that. But a lot of times what we'll tell people is, like, if you have game film that you can send to us and, we're able to download it and, chop up the footage, we'd be willing to put it out there for you. And that's a service that we do offer. So I would say that's a lot of times what we'll end up telling people, send us your game film and, we'll try to get you some promo on our page.
So is your page's mentality towards DMs like let's say I was a normal kid playing basketball. I would say like the fifth best player on my basketball team at my school on varsity level, and I DM'd you, so you know who I am. I'm like, hey, I'm whatever, sending you that basic. I'm this GPA is this. I work really hard every day, whatever. Then would you look at that DM and you would say, like, hey, send me some film and we'll see what we could do. Would that be your response, or you guys a little more Hollywood towards that stuff?
It kind of depends, on what the DM says, and how
Yeah,
serious it kind of seems like they're trying to take it. But if they really are, because that is a service we offer on our website, so a lot of people will see that they can send their footage in to us. So if it seems like they're inquiring about the service, then we'll definitely, get back to them, give them all the info and stuff. But if it's just a kid, who's in like sixth grade and he's just like, says something really generic to us, like, I'll just, maybe say something like, keep grinding, bro, or like, just work hard and like things will come. Just something general like that. You can't please everybody, that's for sure.
So, do you guys respond to every DM? I guess besides the scammers and the ones that just word it not right. Like, do you pretty much respond
I'm
to
not gonna
anybody?
lie, we can't respond to all the DMs. No, we do not.
Yeah, how much like can you give me like do you guys really get that many DMs like daily? Like is it really more than I can imagine? Like how much is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. Maybe like 10 to 20 people will slide in the DMs daily, something like that. It's not like this outrageous number,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's something around there probably.
Yeah, and it definitely does like like I remember because I'm sure at the same time you're DMing people too on Instagram that personally and you're talking to. So on top of all those buzzes, then you get 20
Yeah.
more people wanting to reach out. Like it does get overwhelming and all that stuff. But could you make like this like having a page like yours? I wonder like how does Instagram work? Like when you go on every single time, like are you always getting followers? Like are we getting likes? Like how does Instagram work when you have such a big page like that?
I would say, yeah, we always are getting followers, but then at the same time, if you're broadcasting to a bigger audience, so a lot of people are unfollowing. I'll make a post and I can see, that if you maybe drop 80 followers right after the post went up, so it's kind of a balancing game, but it's a lot of notifications. I definitely don't have my notifications on, so my phone's not constantly buzzing, but it's I'll get on there and check it. You want to see what people are commenting and, what they think of the post. So it's a lot to handle. You definitely have to manage it the right way and make sure you're not constantly on Instagram or, you won't get anything done.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You said like how you keep your notifications off because you don't want your phone to constantly buzzing. Like I thought it's like when you get to that level where your phone is going to constantly buzz. Like I would assume Instagram just doesn't send you those notifications. Like so if you put Instagram like off do not disturb, you're like you'd get all the alerts.
I haven't done it. I don't know. It's just kind of been on Do Not Disturb for a while now here. So I guess I don't know for sure, but I think it would probably be just too much constant phone buzzing. So I don't think I want to try that out.
Yeah, so I guess I want like because I guess you said like I don't even want to be like it'd be cool if I had like 100,000 followers on Instagram or something like that, but I don't even think like I don't care if I get that big. Like that's not really a big deal to me. Like of course I want to have like good growth, but I'm not trying to get 100,000. Like I don't really care about that too much. But like so Instagram's just normal Instagram for somebody at your level. Like there's nothing special to it. Like it's pretty much just normal, like how mine is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty similar, man. And like I said before we went live, you're gonna get bigger and bigger, man. You might say you don't want 100,000 followers, but just wait, you'll have them, man, because the podcasting type of stuff is getting huge, and I think younger people are tuning into podcasts, and the more you tune into podcasts, the more it's gonna make you want to be on one because you listen to them all the time. You're like, oh, could I do that too? So, I think you're going to get much bigger. But as for the Instagram question, it's pretty similar to yours, man. Same app.
Yeah, that's something I always will like. I don't know. I always have some sort of like conspiracy theory. Like Instagram's different for like I just can't imagine. I can't imagine like Mikey Williams because he's probably like the most or I guess Bronny technically like a guy like Bronny, a normal like obviously a normal kid at the end of the day having his Instagram notifications off. Like I would assume they'd be on. They just don't get alerts like that. That would be my guess because
He probably has the notifications where you get them for only people you follow. That's a setting you can do.
okay, yeah, because I mean I just can't see them as turning them off completely. Like I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't imagine that. Like that just seems kind of just for normal. Because at the end of the day, again, they're normal kids. Like I can't see someone like even for me like my Snapchat and Twitter are both do not disturb, but my Instagram I keep on obviously because I'm not getting flooded with DMs every day. And if I am, it obviously be from important people, so I would need to see the alert. But like I just can't imagine a kid like that doing that. So I always just thought like Instagram doesn't send them out or they pick and choose. That was my little theory.
I don't think there's some big conspiracy behind it.
All right, but continuing on, I just got a couple more topics I want to address. Being a group or a brand that does a lot of video footage, that's obviously grown. Like I know some people where their page is like a year old and they make mixtapes and all that, and companies are offering them, like, or want them to be interns or all this stuff. Like, it seems very common for people to start filming and then maybe a year down the road or 5 months down the road, now you got Ball His Life wanting you to be an intern for them or overtime or like Video Boost or Slam. Like, were you guys ever getting offers like that? You know, throughout the page's career, or that never
Oh,
really happened?
definitely, definitely. We've had sit downs where people have tried to buy Courtside, from us, all social media accounts, sit downs. I won't get into who, but definitely it's happened a few times, and we were so close to taking those offers so many times, and I'm absolutely glad we did not. And I was even one of the guys pushing for, yo, we got to take this deal. We might not get this again. And just in the end, I think all of us together decide not to is good. But for what you said with guys becoming interns and working with these big companies, I think that is a good idea for them, and it's good like to get their names out there. I just think that they should go into their career basically with a definite plan, like to know what they want to do, and be like, okay, so if I'm going to go work with Balls Life, Slam, Overtime, whoever, I'm just going to kind of use that to build exposure, and then I'm going to use that as a stepping stone to go into this, rather than just being the hired camera guy, because you can't really make a career out of that. So it is cool to get more followers and all that stuff. Like, what I would say to those younger people coming up is just, try to get yourself a definite plan, which I know is hard to do because you don't know exactly and you're still figuring stuff out. But just, try to use that stuff to your advantage, and, don't let them use you. That would be my advice.
Yeah, well, I'm sure like it is kind of common sense. Like, if you unless like Slam Ball Is Life and all those big brands are looking for guys that they want to commit to them and that's it, if that's in the contract. But I'm sure if not, like, obviously it's common sense. Like, if I put my name Ball Is Life and somehow maybe my page look like I filmed for Ball Is Life, I mean then I'm gonna blow up. Like, it is a great. I'm sure guys see that. Like, it. I think most people do see it as a step to wherever they want to go, videography wise or basketball wise. It's obviously a pretty big step. But do you guys hire people to work for you, or is your brand just you and your brother and your friend? Like, do you have you started like hiring people to work for you guys, or not?
We haven't a ton in the past, but we're kind of starting to get into it a little more this season. And there's a guy, MKE, in Milwaukee we've been working with. He's a really good filmer, and he's been doing some good work for us in the Wisconsin area. And working with a few guys in Iowa, and occasionally, we'll hire a freelance photographer, but outside of that, not a ton. I would say more we'll collab with like trainers to like run the skills at our camp and stuff like that, or a photographer to take photos at the camp, or maybe someone to make a flyer for the camp. But in terms of like doing the videography and the editing work, that's basically all just us three. We're doing all that, but we want to expand in the future and get into having more employees.
Yeah, because I just can't imagine like, a brand like yours only just being three people and that's it. But at least for some people that you have like hired, maybe like the first kind of guy that you started to get to do some work for you. Could you explain what that process was like now, finally branching out from a brand that was just you three to now more people?
Yeah, I think that's another thing. It's just like a skill you get better at with time. Right when we started to, try to hire people, we were not organized enough, and it's almost like we're trying to get the work for free, which is not the way to do it, or just spend as little money as possible as a smaller company, when you need to have, an organized plan. Like, if you go to this game, I'll pay you X amount of money. I expect the footage at this time, and just have more details in place, just so it can be more organized. It'll work better for us and better for who we're hiring. So that's what we need to get better at, is just, managing people, being organized, having a clear plan in place.
Yeah. And oh man, I completely forgot my man. And I had a good question too, so that's a little bit little bit of a bummer. But I continuing on, could you explain to me like, what was like the first, like, what did you guys start off? Like, did you start off on a social media page? Actually, wait, say like, I remember my question anyways. So I tell you, we'll talk about that later actually, because I just remember the question.
Okay.
My bad. Yeah, no, if I would hate to forget the question again, but at least like what I feel like is even you could have a camera that's not that good, like a pretty bad camera, but your logo, not even the logo didn't need to look good, but the logo is respected. Where if you took a video of me playing basketball and put your logo in it, like it just makes the player look better. Like I don't know why, but it just does. Like I'll be watching Hoop Diamond that like he did some video of this like this run I was at, and the guys, like it was like two pretty good players, and the rest of the kids were just some whatever kids, and they look like ballers out there just because that Hoop Diamond logo was in the corner of the video. Can you explain to me like how you're able to make your videos, or I guess everything you put out, like make the player almost look better because your logo's in it?
Yeah, I think the logo, it holds some notoriety. And like you said with Hoop Diamonds, he's been doing a good job for a long time, Tyler. So if you see that Hoop Diamonds logo and, he filmed it, it's going to have more respect on it. But, for having the Courtside logo on there, I think it's just associated, with the brand, and being a respected basketball company. So, people kind of know, maybe pay attention a little more to this one. And, at the end of the day, like you kind of said, it's not all about having the nicest camera. It's more about the highlights. Like people just want to watch dope basketball at the end of the day. The average fan isn't like, oh, he's got such and such camera, he should upgrade to this camera. So at the end of the day, it's, exciting highlights is what people are after.
Yeah, definitely. It was just crazy, like how this guy was showing me. He's like, yeah, like so I gotta like this guy paid me making my mix. Like this is the guy I'm filming. I'm like, yeah, but he's gonna look so good just because you're gonna put the Ball is Life logo in. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Like it's so crazy just watching this stuff, and all of a sudden like you show me but even the normal video, like I don't know, it's just like when a videographer like videotapes a player playing basketball and not just the person sitting in the stands with the tripod like going back and forth, like if it's a guy that I guess you could say is legit, like not some parent that just kind of does it just for their kid's sake. Like it just always makes them look better. Like I don't know why. It's just
For sure.
I literally cannot explain why, but they just always look better when someone's like filming them like that.
Something with how they've seen the past, videos from this company in the past, and they associate those videos with the new ones, they're watching. Who knows exactly what that is, but I do what you mean.
But I guess now what I was going to say earlier, while I was forgetting that question that I just asked you, but what was the first social media that you guys start, or what did you even start your brand on? Like, was it started just on a website? Was it started on YouTube? What was it started on?
I would say it was probably a combo. I think when it got going, it was like, set up the YouTube account, set up the Twitter account, because Twitter was going right when we started, and Facebook was going. And so I would say YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And, from there, we got a website. It was a really crappy website we got back in the day. It was iaelites.com, and since have upgraded since then. But yeah, it's so much different now because like back then, now the race is like, oh, if a crazy dunk happens, make sure you're the first.
Yeah.
Content out there, you're not going to find as many people going to that link on Twitter as they were back in 2012 or whatever year.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me right now, but do you mind? Can you just refresh your page? I think you froze for a second. I don't want to have to risk it.
Let me refresh.
Yeah, just in case. All right, guys, we'll be right back. We were pretty much able to hear that, but it was just like a just in case. I don't have to risk anything. Yeah, you're pretty much good, but like it froze for a second, so I was like, I don't want it to get worse, So I was like, might as well. Or it looks like it's glitching again. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to refresh my page and we'll see what happens. All right, I don't know. Is this all better?
Yeah, it's good on my end now.
Yeah, because I think you froze, and then I guess when I put you back on, you froze. So like maybe it was me. That's what I don't know. This stuff does glitch a lot, but
Yeah.
when you guys did just start, like, what was like the first thing that I guess Iowa Elite did? Was it make a Facebook post, make a Twitter post? Was it just what was that first thing that they put out there to the public?
I think that would have been Johnny going to film Marcus Page, who played at North Carolina, and posting him to YouTube, and then just putting that YouTube link on Twitter and Facebook would be my guess. And that was the account at Iowa Elites. And, from there, it was just, I don't know what went next, but I'm pretty sure Marcus Page was the first guy he was covering.
All right. So, I mean, YouTube, again, you guys, at least the way you described it, like you kind of got on YouTube as soon as YouTube started expanding. Like, I remember when I got my first iPod Touch when I was in first grade, I remember YouTube was on it, but it wasn't like people were coming home and their thing was, I like to watch YouTube. Like, it was just there for just like, I don't even know. It was like there were videos on it. Like, I'd watch some of Michael Jordan on YouTube, but it wasn't like, this guy is my favorite YouTuber. Like YouTuber wasn't a word back then. Now it's a word now. So maybe it was easier for you guys to expand, but I know like I mean I don't want to bash like your brand or anything, but like you see, I mean you posted a video 4 hours ago, like it only has like 250 views. Like YouTube's I feel like a hard thing to expand. Obviously you guys did something right because you guys are pretty big on YouTube, but again, I at least from what I've seen and what I've heard, like it looks really tough to grow a page on YouTube. Can you like I guess explain or demonstrate like how you're able to grow on YouTube? Because for a lot of people that's like a super tough thing to get into.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying about how like back then it was like rush to get that picture with the link posted on Twitter, and now it's like get that instant access to the video right on your IG timeline or your Snapchat or whatever you're watching on. So now you have to find content on YouTube where people will, actually take the time to sit down and watch that. So for that, it's really about getting the right content out there that people want to see. So for getting the YouTube views, you're absolutely right. It is harder, but you get the right content, it can really take off. And, with YouTube being connected to Google, like when you're Googling, some of these guys who are in the NBA now, if you're like Trae Young high school highlights, you're probably going to get a YouTube link rather than like an Instagram link, because YouTube is, what pays you. So it should be harder. People aren't making money unless they, use a separate advertiser through Instagram, to do a promo or something like that. No one's getting paid off these Instagram views. So, I guess you just got to work a little harder for the YouTube views, but you're definitely right. They are harder to come by.
Yeah, it definitely crazy how like one video recently has 68,000 views and the other one has less than five. Like it's just crazy how much YouTube varies. But I guess you would say like the big key to growing YouTube is just finding what people want to watch more. Because I guess in terms of how it works on Instagram, like if I posted a 30-second clip and people watch the whole 30 seconds, then that's going to be shown to another one of my followers, and that post is going to get a lot more likes and the other one. So is that the same with YouTube in a way? Like whichever video gets more stuff, I guess puts them on the whatever the things are like suggested thing on YouTube. Is that how it works?
Yeah, getting in the suggestion, and then through Instagram, figuring out ways to drive people to your YouTube links too. Like if you did an interview with LeBron James and posted a 15-second clip on Instagram, it has tons and tons of views. You'd want to figure out a way to be like full interview with LeBron in bio, put it in your story, make people swipe up on it, get it on Twitter and Facebook, and just keep hyping it up that way. To drive people to your link. But yeah, I think staying consistent with your uploads too. Your subscribers will be more likely to tune into each video if it's, more like every day or every other day rather than, one video every other month. So I think staying consistent is pretty key.
Yeah. Was YouTube your was that the, I guess now Instagram, but before Instagram was around, was YouTube like the big page for Courtside Films or Iowa Elite, or was it or was it Twitter or Facebook that was more the bigger platform at the time for you guys, not like in general?
Yeah, for us back then, YouTube and Twitter were both right up there, pretty equal. Twitter still is big, obviously, but it was huge back then. So Twitter and YouTube, yeah.
Okay, so you would use it, because I was thinking like if I start a YouTube channel and no like Instagram for it, I can't put a link in my bio or whatever. Like I feel like now it's almost necessary. Like if you want to be big on YouTube, then you gotta advertise it someplace else, because it's not like it'll probably do anything on YouTube. So that's why I was curious, like if you guys pretty much just blowing up just based off YouTube, or if you had something else that was blowing up a lot too on a different platform, that you're able to kind of grow the two together.
Yeah, I think growing them together with Twitter and YouTube was pretty key for us. And, a lot of times too, these players are being recruited by all these schools, and there's a ton of blogs, behind these schools. So like if it's a player who's committed to North Carolina, there's 25 plus blogs dedicated to, North Carolina recruits. So they're going to embed your YouTube videos on those sites, and they're going to go and promote those on all their social media platforms. So definitely diving into other audiences, that's definitely a good way, because the colleges have huge fan bases. And then, that player gets drafted somewhere, and, from there you have the NBA fan base, as well as, his games being broadcasted on ESPN, and someone drops 30 in a college game, a bunch of people are going to watch that and be like, what was this guy up to in high school or whatever, So a lot of different ways, but definitely you just got to go for it on YouTube right away. You're not going to see those views, but just staying consistent is key.
Yeah, that's crazy you say that about the embedding into articles, because I think like I write too, and I think I've put Courtside Films videos in my articles of the guys I'm writing about. So that's definitely pretty crazy. And in terms of Instagram, like how did you guys kind of get that thing going? Like was it just more the explore page, kind of people like what they saw, or how was that able to grow to where now that's probably, I think I haven't checked Twitter, but I'm assuming that's probably the biggest thing that you guys got.
Oh yeah, we do have the biggest following on Instagram. I remember I want to say it was 2012 or 13. The first time we had gotten hired for an event in California, and me and Daryl, we were 19 and we flew out to California, and we were like, we had obviously heard of Instagram, but I don't know if I even knew anyone who had it. And we noticed we're like, all these parents are like asking us like, well, are these videos going to be posted on Instagram? And we're like, we don't even have Instagram. And one of my mentors and good friends, Coach Ryan Silver, he was like, you guys got to be on Instagram. You got to be on Instagram. So I remember creating one right there in the car, and just, we're just like going around LA kind of sightseeing and just posting whatever we see, just posting horrible content no one wanted to see. And then, from there you get the hang of it more and more, and then it went to uploading a video to YouTube and just filming the laptop, and then just posting that video you filmed on your phone, because the smartphones weren't near as good. It was harder to get the, high quality content to your phone. And now that's a lot easier. So I think getting in on the Instagram early, and then figuring out, what is it that will get you more followers. And I think a lot of that is having people post your content. So like getting that app Courtside Films in front of people's face, so back then it was 15-second videos. If we could get, whoever it was at the time, a big time player, to, post our video and tag us, like that was a huge help for getting, our page to grow. So getting content that people are going to share is a huge way we grew our Instagram page.
Yeah, I agree. Just real quick about Coach Ryan Silver, but like, did you guys meet him through Courtside Films, or was that someone you knew actually, but before you guys started? Like,
no, we didn't know him. He's from LA, and
I was gonna say like that'd be crazy if you guys knew him like coming into it? Because I know he's pretty big. I think I'm pretty sure he follows me. I think we follow each other. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, he does a good job. He just needed a video company for an event, and there's another guy who we're really close with, Christian Papula. He goes by Pop. He's a scout, and he had just kind of thrown our name out there to Ryan Silver, and then Ryan Silver's like, "All right, let's get him. We'll pay him." And he asked us how much money we wanted. We asked for like nuts, so we all drove to Colorado 12 hours. We asked him for a hotel, and I think it was like $250. So we all get less than $100. We have to drive 12 hours each way to film a high school camp one day, a middle school camp the next day. We make like 60 videos, barely got any money, but it ended up being a really good connection we made with meeting some of those West Coast guys out there. So I think, and that kind of led to us needing to go to a more national name as well.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a big thing too. Like we don't really need to touch on this because at least the way I treat these, like I'm having this conversation because I want to learn. I'm sure whatever I want to know, like people want to know, but I don't want to waste my time like asking something that I already know the answer to. But I mean, people, if anyone ends up watching this, like I feel like it is important. Like if people ask me, can you please go to this tournament in Atlanta to film these people, ask people that I actually want to see, and they're like, how much do you want to be paid? I would say just cover my travel and food, I guess, and I'll be there. Like I don't need anything extra. Like you shouldn't, I guess, of course support yourself and be your biggest supporter, but don't overrate yourself and be like, because this guy's getting charged as much money that I should be getting charged the same thing. Like, and even doing that too, then it shows like, okay, this guy, how do I say it? Like not he maybe respects us, or he like understands himself, and then they kind of respect you more. Like he's not trying to rip us off or anything. So that's definitely a big thing for people to understand. Like don't overrate yourself, I guess. But my final question of the interview, I want to know, like, what are maybe some of the goals, or where do you see Courtside Films in the future? Like, are you guys trying to make any other sorts of different types of content? Is there something bigger that you guys are trying to do, or is Courtside Films going to be done in a couple of years and you guys are going to be doing something else like bigger? Where do you see everything in the future?
Well, I would say Courtside Films isn't going to be done in a couple of years, and we're going to keep going and, trying to get bigger. And I think a goal for us would be, to bring the Courtside camps out of Iowa more. We kind of feel like we got a really good product there where we're kind of the only ones who can put on a camp and then, have all of the 100 videos done within a week and, provide those guys, an instrument to send to college coaches and try to get themselves recruited. So I would say having more camps. We were going to expand out of Iowa in June when the COVID hit. We had a camp all set up for Minneapolis, had to cancel that one. So I would say in June, we'll probably look to do a couple out of the state. And, from there, so expand the camps. And then also, I would say probably try to add more filmers, so we can, bring more quality basketball content. And just there's so many good creators out there now. So I guess just finding a way to connect with them and, making it good for both of us. So, yeah. What about you? What do you got planned?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I never get like asked like whenever someone asks me a question, like always it makes me happy, but it's always cool. Like, I was like, it's always so unexpected. But I guess like at least for myself, like the only reason I'm doing this is just to network with people. Like I'm planning on quitting this after I graduate high school. Like this is really just a big way for me to, of course, if a big opportunity comes, I'm gonna take it. But if there's no really big opportunity, like I would rather, like I want to be a coach or at least something outside of, like I would rather, and the way I know this, because I'd rather work my butt off and be a high school basketball coach at some school than work my butt off and work on a random news station in the middle of nowhere. That's how I figured it out. So this is all just one big networking opportunity for me. I mean, I don't know, just grow as much as I can. Like I just want to go to the best events out there and talk to the best players, and that's pretty much it. And hopefully put people on somebody. That's also what I want to do too. But I feel like I don't have the eye for that yet. But I'm definitely try to do that too. That's something I want to do, I guess, too, is put somebody on I guess put people on a player, something cool too. But yeah, I'm just using this as a big networking platform for myself, honestly.
I would say you don't want to just say you're going to be done with it after high school because you
Yeah,
never
literally,
know
I
how
don't know
big it
for
could
sure,
get.
but I'm using it more as like just maybe what I might do is because I'm my school's team manager. So when I go to college, obviously I'm gonna do the same thing. So I might want to continue it where it's more just whatever college team I'm with, because I'll also be with the basketball team all day. So I might as well like put some content about them on my Instagram and just kind of follow it up like that. In a way, maybe the opponents, if my coaches let me do that when I'm in college, like go interview the opponents, stuff like that. But yeah, this is more just like a way for me to network with people that I never thought I'd be able to speak to. Like, I mean, I've been watching high school basketball stuff since 8th grade. Like, I've heard of Courtside Film since I've gone to high school basketball. I never thought I'd meet, the people behind it, which is crazy. So it's just all just a networking platform for myself, just to
So are you a
people.
senior in high school then?
I'm a junior right now, so I still got I got one more year, but yeah.
Well, you're much better off than I was in high school, man. You got a lot of focus and you seem very motivated. When I was your age, I had none of that going on. So I think the future's bright for you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. But anyway, thank you so much for taking your time doing this to me. Make sure you guys give us follows. Follow, Courtside. I think it's like Courtside Films for everything, so it's pretty basic. And also follow my Instagram as well at ihoopsfl. But yeah, anything, any last piece of advice, anything like that before we get in the interview?
Oh man, no, I would say, shout out my guys, Daryl Coleman, Johnny Hines, look for the courtside camps and shout out iHoops Florida too. I'll make sure to give you guys a shout out, try to send some followers your way. So appreciate you having me on, man. And I'm sure I'll see you around at some games soon. So we'll be in touch here, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hopefully, but yeah. So for I guess the one of the I guess you could say, would you consider like owner, founder? What's like your preferred kind of title of the whole thing?
Co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder. All right. So for one of the co-founders of Courtside Films, Eric Hines, I'm Isaac Fleischer, and this has been another IUPSF interview. Peace out, guys.